Shrutismrutipurananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavatpada shankaram lokashankaram. Welcome to the Global Festival of Oneness, the 6th annual edition. It's a month-long conference that starts on the Adi Shankara Jayanti to celebrate the works and teachings of Jagat Guru. We have 2 sessions every day, one in the morning at 7 a.m. PST and one in the evening at 7 p.m. PST. And today we have the honor of hearing the words of wisdom from Dr. Tulasi Kumar Joshi. He's coming to us from the wonderful spiritual city of Varanasi. Har Har Mahadeva. Dr. Tulasi Kumar Joshi is going to be speaking about a very interesting topic, Jadatva Hetupapattihi. In English, inertness as a ground for unreality. So let's learn about that. A brief bio about Dr. Joshi. He is an assistant professor at the Department of Sanskrit in the Vasanta College of Women, Rajghat, Varanasi. He has had the rare opportunity to study Vyakarana, Nyaya, and Vedanta from eminent acharyas such as Sri Purushottam Tripathi, Professor Rajaram Shukla, Sri Mani Dravid Shastrigal, who we had the privilege of featuring in this conference, and Sri Hari Daigude. He has completed his PhD from the Benares Hindu University, Varanasi, guided by Professor Dhananjay Kumar Pandey, MA Sanskrit from Benares Hindu University as well, and Acharya in Shankara Advaita in the Sampurnananda Sanskrit University. Following the completion of his PhD, Dr. Joshi joined Rashtriya Sanskrit Samsthan as a guest faculty in Advaita Vedanta at their Guruvayur campus. He has delivered lectures on Vyakarana, Nyaya, and Advaita Vedanta at several Vakyartha Sabhas. He has been invited to several workshops, seminars, and conferences and has published research papers in national and international journals. He has keen interest in yogic philosophy too, an expert in the epistemological and metaphysical aspects of Indian philosophy. He devotes significant effort in conducting and participating in traditional discourses on the Shastras. He also prepared many students for such discourses. He has been conferred with the prestigious award of Suvarna Anguliyakam from the Mahasanidhanam at Sringeri Sharada Peetam. What a blessing. Dr. Joshi ji, welcome to the Global Festival of Oneness. We're looking forward to hearing your talk today. Please proceed, sir. You have the full 1 hour.
Pranamaha. Dhanyavada.
Dhanyavada.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. I first of all thank organizers of this event and all the people who are associated with this event. So let us start with our topic. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnur, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namo Namaha. Today, my topic I'm going to talk about is Jadatva Hetupapatti. Or we can, in other words, say that the nature of Jadatvam or inertness. Why this topic has been taken? What is Jadatvam? What is a Hetu? And what is the significance of this topic in the event like this is, as you all are aware of the tenets of Advaita Vedanta, the very famous shloka is there, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. So this small shloka defines the core siddhanta or tenet of Advaita Vedanta, which is Brahma Satyam. Brahma is the ultimate reality, Satyam, and Jagan Mithya. And the universe is unreal, the world is unreal, and Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. And the Jivatma is itself Brahma. It is not different from Brahma. So, this is the core principle of Advaita Vedanta. In Advaita Vedanta, there is only one truth, that is Shuddha Chaitanyam or pure consciousness. Now, if this is the conclusion of Advaita Vedanta, then how this conclusion has been arrived? So, whenever in Indian schools of darshanas, whenever one school gives any conclusion or siddhanta, then behind that siddhanta, there are many reasonings and many logics are given in order to establish that viewpoint. It is very natural also. Whenever we, in any discipline, if we want to establish a viewpoint, then we have to give reasonings or we have to give some supportive evidences in order to establish that tenet. So this has been the nature of all the Indian schools of philosophy to support their viewpoints with proper argumentation and with proper evidences and reasonings. So this Jadatva Hetu, what is Hetu? Let us first understand what is called Hetu in our uh, um, darshanas. So Hetu is actually can be translated as ground for inferring an object in a substratum where it lies. So in Advaita Vedanta, to establish the unreality of the world, they have given multiple grounds. What is the unreality? What does it mean by unreality in Advaita Vedanta? So unreality is being the counter relative of an absence where the being the counter relative of an absence where the things are appeared. So in simple words, uh, wherever things are appearing, actually things don't exist there. So there is an absence of that thing. For an example, we always give an example of Shukti Rajatam. So in Shukti, in a shell, the Rajatam or the silver is appeared, but there is an absence of the silver in that shell. So when we see a shell, it often happens because of its glittering property. It shines like a silver. So it appears like a silver, but in real, there is the absence of silver. So what has appeared in a substratum, actually that doesn't exist there. Kind of that thing is called mithya or unreal. it is very similar to in the context of the world also. The world is appearing in a substratum called pure consciousness or Brahman. And it is being appeared there. That's why it is being appeared as existed thing. And we can all know that the world is existed, the existence is appearing. But actually, the world is not there. The Jagat is not there. So, Pratipanno Padhau, Traikalika Nishedha Pratiyogitvam. This is the nature of Mithyatvam, unreality. The unreality or Mithyatvam is a technical term in terms of Advaita Vedanta. So, Pratipanno Padhau, Traikalika Nishedha Pratiyogitvam. Traikalika Nishedha means absolute absence, and Pratiyogitvam means counter relative. So Pratipanno Padhau, this word means that where it is appearing, actually being the counter relative of the absolute absence which lies there. So wherever the things appear, actually there is the absence of that thing. That is what is said in the Bhagavad Gita also. First, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that Mai Sarvani Bhutani. Everything, all the elements exist in me. Mai Sarvani Bhutani. And then he says that Nacha Matsthani Bhutani. Nacha Matsthani Bhutani. Nothing is in me. So first he says that Mai Sarvani Bhutani, everything is in me, everything appears in me. That's why they have got existence. They have got existence from me, and they appear like existed. So everything appears in me, but in real, there is nothing in me. It means that absence of everything is in me. So things which have appeared, actually they are the counter relative of the absolute absence which lies in me. So this is called mithyatvam, pratipanno padhau, traikalika nishedha pratiyogitvam. And this kind of mithyatvam has to be established in the universe or in the world in order to establish the tenet of oneness or Advaitam. Otherwise, the Advaitam cannot be established. So, how do our Indian Darshanikas establish their tenets? So, there are multiple pramanas. One of them is called Anumana Pramanam. Anumana Pramanam, through this Anumana Pramanam, the Advaiti has established the Mithyatva in the universe. Though the Shruti is the greatest Pramanam, and Shruti itself says the unreality of the world, but to support Shruti also, we have the inference or Anumana Pramanam, which actually is derived from the Shruti only. So it actually supports the main purport of the Upanishads or Shruti. So through the Anumana Pramanam also, they have established the oneness or the unreality of the world. Now, in Anumana Pramanam, what happens is, in Anumana Pramanam, there is one we can say subject or uddeshyam. One uddeshyam is there, and in that uddeshyam, we establish one vidheyam or predicate using a ground. So in Anumana Pramanam, there are three things: Paksha, Sadhya, and Hetu. So Paksha is that where we are going to establish something is called Paksha. So in the context of Mithyatva, we are going to establish this unreality or Mithyatva in the universe. So the universe or Jagat is Paksham, because we are going to establish the Mithyatva there in Jagat. So where the things are being established is called Paksha, and things that are being established is called Sadhya. So like in the context of Mithyatvam, we are going to establish Mithyatvam in Jagat. So Jagat is Paksha and the Mithyatvam is Sadhya, because that is going to be established, that is being established. So the thing which is being established is called Sadhya. So here the Sadhya is Mithyatvam. And the instrument or the sadhana using which we establish the thing, Sadhya, is called Hetu. So, like for establishing the Mithyatva, there are multiple grounds which can be found in Advaita text, like Drishyatvam. There is one ground called Drishyatvam. Then this is the ground Jadatvam and Parichinnatvam, Anshitvam. So multiple grounds are there for establishing the Mithyatva in universe. So the Jadatva is one of them, and it is called Hetu because using this Jadatvam, we are going to establish Mithyatvam in the universe. So in order to establish Mithyatvam or Sadhya in Paksha using an instrument or a ground, it is necessary that the ground also should lies on Paksha. Ground should be there in the Paksha. Otherwise, we cannot establish this Sadhya using that ground. So, Hetu is a ground for inferring an object in a substratum where it lies. So, Hetu, what is the function of the Hetu is uh, we infer, using Hetu, we infer an unknown object in a location or in a substratum where that ground lies actually. So, like for example, there is a very famous example in our schools of Darshana. Smoke is a ground for fire in a substratum like a hill. So, when we see somewhere, uh, for example, when we see in a hill smoke, when we see smoke in a hill, and when we don't see the fire there, then what happens after looking at the smoke? We infer that there is a fire, because wherever there is smoke, there is a fire. Without fire, there cannot be smoke. So we are not seeing fire, but the fire can be inferred using the ground or the instrument called smoke. So likewise, in the universe, we are not seeing mithyatva. Universe is appearing as real, not as unreal. Everything is appearing as real. But because this ground, Jadatva, because this ground is there in the universe, Jadatva is there in the universe, we can infer that the universe is unreal. So we cannot perceive the unreality of universe, but we can infer the unreality of the universe in this state. So, uh, so Jadatva has been used as a ground or as an instrument in order to establish the unreality or mithyatva in the universe. So, this is about the Hetu. And now, as I said, Jadatva Hetu is a ground for inferring unreality of this universe. So, where there is Jadatva, there is Mithyatva. So, wherever there is Jadatva, and now we will have to understand what the term Jadatva means. So, where there is Jadatva, there is Mithyatva. So, in the next slide, now this uh, Jadatva Hetu is being analyzed here. First of all, if we are using Jadatva as a ground for establishing Mithyatvam, we must understand what does this term refer to. So, as you all know that there is a tradition in Indian schools of philosophy, there are many viewpoints. One of the schools of philosophy called Madhva school or Dvaita school, they actually are the counterparts of the Advaita Vedanta because they believe in dualism, and Advaiti believes in non-dualism, Advaita. So their theory, their Siddhanta is contrary to Advaita Vedanta, and they always become a natural prima facie viewer in the context of Advaita Vedanta. So what they say is you cannot define this ground, Jadatva. You cannot explain the meaning of the term Jadatvam. Jadatvam cannot be defined. And since it cannot be defined, you cannot use this as a ground to establish Mithyatvam in the universe. Because the thing which is not definable, which cannot be defined, how can we use that thing to establish something anywhere? So Jadatvam cannot be defined. Their main what akshepa or question on Advaiti is that your Jadatvam cannot be defined. Why it cannot be defined? So they say that there can be three types of Jadatvam. First, Ajnatritvam Jadatvam. So Ajnatritvam means unconscious. So there is Jadatvam means it can be unconscious. So here the spelling n is missing. So you can add that unconscious. Ajnatritvam Jadatvam. This can be the first meaning of Jadatvam. Whether Jadatvam can be unconscious or it can be non-cognition. Ajnanatvam. Jnanam means cognition. Jnanam means non-cognition or not cognition. So, which is not cognition, which is not jnanam, can be called jadatvam, jada. And third option alternative can be anatmatvam, means atma, I have translated it as consciousness. So, being consciousness is atmatvam, and not being consciousness is called anatmatvam. So, these three alternatives can be there for jadatvam. So, inertness or jadatvam can can be of three nature. First, ajnatritvam. Ajnatritvam means being unconscious. Things which are unconscious, like a stone, we call it jada because it is not conscious of what is happening around it. That's why we call it jada. So, jadatvam can be being unconscious, or the cognition, not being the cognition, also can be jadatvam. Because the cognition, wherever the cognition is there, we call that thing a sentient thing or chetana in general. So, jadatvam can be being non-cognition, not which is not cognition, different from cognition, can be called jadatvam. This is the second alternative. There are very subtle differences between these three alternatives, but these three can possibly said as jadatvam or inertness. And the third thing, anatmatvam, not being consciousness, not being atma, can be called jadatvam. So they say, Madhva Vedanti says that these are three options for jadatvam. Jadatvam can be of only these three nature. So, what are you taking from the term jadatvam? Are you saying that ajnatritvam jadatvam? Is it being unconscious? Being unconscious is jadatvam, or ajnanatvam jadatvam? Is it being non-cognition, or anatmatvam va? Is it being conscious, not being consciousness? What do you mean by jadatvam? They ask the question and they answer like, if you say that ajnatritvam jadatvam, ajnatritvam, we can also translate it as insentience. So so there are sentient beings which are called chetana, and there are insentient things, those are called jada. So the jada, the property of those insentient things can be called jadatvam, which is insentience or ajnatritvam. So insentience can be called jadatvam. This was the first alternative. But if you accept that jadatvam is being insentience, then your tenets cannot be established. Why? They say that tvanmate paksha nikshiptasyaiva ahamarthasya jnatritvat tatra asiddhehe. So what they say is, if you accept that jadatvam means insentience, then in your uh, view, you are going to establish unreality in the meaning of I also. So, in our behavior, we use the word, often we use this word I. So, the meaning of this word I is also unreal in as per the Siddhant of tenet of Advaita Vedanta, and Advaiti has to establish unreality in the meaning of I. So the meaning of I also comes in the universe, under the universe. So in the universe, this is the meaning of I is also there. So in this meaning of I also, we have to establish Advaita, Mithyatvam, unreality. So if we use Agyatritvam, insentience, because the world is unreal, because it is insentience, because there is insentience. Wherever there is insentience, there is unreality. If we use this meaning of Jadatvam in order to establish the unreality in the universe, then what happens? Our tenets will not be, our unreality could not be established, because the meaning of I is there in the paksha where we are going to, in the universe itself. So the jiva is actually now in the subject domain, and we are going to establish unreality there using this insentience. But the insentience ground is not there in that jiva, because jivas are all the jivas are sentient beings. So because they come under the subject domain, paksha, and the ground is not there in that jiva, we cannot establish the unreality of that meaning of I using this ground. Because at the outset only, I said that to establish something somewhere using the ground, it is necessary that the ground should lie there. Until and unless we don't see smoke somewhere, we cannot infer fire there. So likewise, if jiva has to be established as unreal, then in the jiva, this ground should be there in sentience, ajnatritvam. This ground should be there in the jiva. If this ground is not there, we cannot establish unreality of that. So because if we accept jadatvam as insentience, then what happens? There is no insentience in the jiva or in the meaning of I, in the thing, in the object which we refer from the word I. So there is sentience, there is that meaning is sentient. So insentience is not there. So the unreality of that object cannot be established. And if you can't establish the unreality of that object, your tenet of oneness cannot be established. Because according to the Siddhanta of Advaita, except Brahman, everything is mithya. That is what is called oneness, Advaitam. So your Advaitam will not be established. So you cannot choose this option. So this cannot be the nature of Jadatvam. The first alternative they give, and they refute that this alternative you cannot choose, because if you choose this alternative, then your tenet cannot be established. Now the next is Ajnanatvam, nature of being non-cognition. Ajnanatvam. So if you say that the Jadatvam is Ajnanatvam, Ajnanatvam means, Jnanam means cognition, and which is not Jnanam is called Ajnanam. So not cognition or non-cognition can be called Ajnanam here. And Ajnanatvam means being non-cognition. So property of that thing which is not cognition, which is different from cognition, which is not cognition, a property. So we actually in our behavior, jnanam is that thing because of which we separate things from sentient and between sentient and insentient. How do we separate things, sentient things and insentient things? Uh, uh, because sentient things have jnanam, some kind of cognition is there, awareness is there, and insentient things don't have that awareness. So this cognition is a factor for separating sentient and insentient things. So what is jadatvam? So jadatvam can be called being non-cognition. So if there is no cognition, we can call that thing as jada. So jadatvam can be a property of being non-cognition. So this is the second alternative. So they say that if you accept jadatvam as ajnanatvam, then also you cannot choose this nature of jadatvam, because your tenets cannot be established using this kind of jadatvam. So what they say is vrityuparakta chaitanyasya jnanatvena kevalayaha vrittehe kevalasya chaitanyasya cha अज्ञानत्वेन वृत्तौ असिद्धि परिहारेपि चैतन्ये व्यभिचारतादवस्थ्यात्. So what they say is, what is cognition? As per your tenet, actually they are saying that what do you mean by cognition to Advaiti? So they say that you by cognition or by jnanam, you say that the consciousness which is modified or qualified by the manifestation of the internal organ, which is called vritti. So that consciousness is called jnanam as per your siddhanta. So if in this case, if the consciousness modified by the manifestation of the internal organ is called jnanam, then the manifestation alone or the consciousness alone cannot be called jnanam, are not jnanam as per your tenets. So in this situation, what happens is, so vritti, so let me put it in other words. Jnanatvam, jadatvam, if you say this, so what is ajnanatvam, which is not cognition? So what is cognition as per your tenets? They say that you say that cognition is consciousness which is modified by the vritti. Vritti is nothing but one of the functions of internal organ. So that internal organ and the consciousness, the both jointly are called jnanam, cognition in your tenet. So if they both jointly are called cognition, then the consciousness alone. So suppose this is vritti and this is consciousness, so both jointly called cognition. So in this case, this consciousness alone is not jnanam and the vritti alone is not jnanam. So both of them means the vritti is ajnanam, means separate from jnanam, different from jnanam, and this consciousness is also different from jnanam. So being non-cognition if you can in vritti also, vritti is also in vritti also there is ajnanatvam, and in consciousness also there is ajnanatvam, because jnanam is the combination of these two things. Separately, individually, they are not of the nature of cognition. So in this case, what happens is your ground jadatvam is there in vritti, and jadatvam is there in also consciousness. So vritti is okay. If jadatvam is in vritti, there is no issue. We accept that vritti is jada. So if jadatvam is there, and mithyatvam can be established there, but in consciousness also, uh, your ground jadatvam lies. And in that case, what happens, that you cannot say that the consciousness is unreal as per your tenet. If you say that the consciousness is also unreal, then uh, there will be Bauddha Matam, Shunyavada. Everything will become unreal. So you cannot say like that. But your Jadatvam is there. So your Sadhya, Mithyatvam is not there. Unreality is not there, but your ground is there. So in that case, there is a flaw of um, invariably non-concomitance, um, which is called in a simpler term, vyabhichara in our schools of darshana. Flaws, there are 5 flaws of grounds. One of the flaws is called vyabhichara. So now this flaw of ground called vyabhichara comes in this. If Advaiti chooses this alternative as jadatvam. So this is this second alternative, ajnanatvam, which cannot be chosen due to the flaw of vyabhichara. So this cannot be the nature of jadatvam. And the third option, alternative that they gave is anatmatvam jadatvam, nature of not being consciousness. So they say that anatmatvam can be jadatvam, non-conscious, not being non-conscious, unconscious, not being consciousness can be called jadatvam. But you cannot say that in this inference or anumana, the ground jadatvam which we use is of the nature of not being consciousness. Because why can't you say like this? Because atmatvasya nirupayitum ashakyatvat. Because you cannot define what is atmatvam. And until and unless you can define the atmatvam, you cannot define what is anatmatvam. So you cannot define atmatvam. So atmatvam cannot be defined. It is there. Means akshepa, that they say that you cannot define atmatvam. That's why you cannot define anatmatvam. That's why you cannot choose this meaning of jadatvam. So anatmatvam cannot be jadatvam. Why atmatvam cannot be defined? So there are multiple things they have put. I have chosen only one thing, that is taddina jati visheshaha tvaya atmanaha ekattvabhyupagamat. Why atmatvam cannot be defined? So what is actually atmatvam? Atmatvam can be a property. So can be a property of atma. So is this property a jati? Jati means an inherent property. It is a technical term in the circle of schools of uh, philosophy, darshan. It is very famous term, jati. Jati, for example, uh, uh, gotvam. Gotvam is a jati which lies in all the cows of this world. Whenever we see a cow, uh, we have this pratiti, we have this perception that it is a cow. Whether we see the cow in India or whether we see the cow in any country or any part of this world, when we see a cow, we have this comprehension that this is a cow. Why this comprehension occur? Because in all the cows of this world, there is a jati, there is an inherent property which is called a gotvam. So whenever we have the cognition of gotvam, we comprehend that location or that substratum or that animal as cow. So atmatvam cannot be of this nature. Means atmatvam cannot be a jati, because jati, to be a jati, it requires multiple substratum or locations. Like in the case of cow, there are multiple cows. So if there are multiple cows, we can say that in all the cows, there is one inherent property called atmatvam, called gotvam, and that is jati. So gotvam, to be jati, it requires that there should be multiple uh, locations or multiple substratum, adhar. So that's why Gotvam can be called Jati, because there are multiple cows in this world. But Atmatvam cannot be called Jati, because in your tenet, in the Advaita Siddhanta, Atma is one only. So Atma is not multiple. There are no multiple Atmans. In other darshanas like Dvaita Vedanta and Sankhya, uh, they Purusha Bahutvam. They accept the concept of Purusha Bahutvam or multiplicity of Atman. They accept this concept. But in Advaita Vedanta, there is only one Atman. So in that case, if Atman is one only, then Atmatvam cannot be the inherent property or jati. You cannot define Atmatvam as a jati. And uh, if you say that, okay, in real Atma is one, but in means jiva, when the state of self awareness or self realization is not there, brahma jnanam is not there, then in that state, in the state of ignorance, there are multiple atma, there are multiple jivatma. So we can say that atmatvam is an inherent property of all the jivas. All the jivas in the state of ignorance. You all know that in the Advaita Vedanta, the after the self realization only, there is the oneness. Means there is no world. So there is no world means there is no jiva, there is no multiplicity, there is oneness only. But uh, till that till that self realization, uh, we have the comprehension of multiplicity. So jivas, multiple jivas are being perceived. So if you say though they are atman only, So in the state of ignorance, they are Atman only. So there are multiple Atma. And we can say that in all the Atmans, Atmatvam is inherent. So Atmatvam can be a jati. So in that case also you cannot choose this uh, ground, Anatmatvam, because in that case, uh, your again, uh, all the jivas are come under your paksha only. So the flaw which has given in in choosing the first alternative, that flaw comes again in this case. So like this, they refute all the alternatives, all the possible meanings of the term jadatvam. So uh, at last they say that this cannot be a ground, jadatvam cannot be a ground to establish the tenet, to establish the unreality in this world. So there can be three alternatives, and these three alternatives cannot be chosen by you, because in each alternative there is a flaw of ground. So you cannot choose any of them. That's why your ground is not appropriate in order to establish unreality in the universe. Now, this is the prima facie view regarding Jadatvam. Uh, and now, as per the Siddhanta of Advaita, we can say that what Advaita Vedanti says, that Ajnanatvam can be called. The first option, they Advaita also doesn't accept as the nature of Jadatvam. The first option, alternative, was Ajnatritvam. So Ajnatritvam is not Jadatvam as per our Siddhanta. Means Ajnatritvam, if we choose Ajnatritvam as the nature of Jadatvam, then our tenets cannot be established. That's why that alternative we don't take. But the second and the third alternative, means Ajnanatvam, and the third alternative was Anatmatvam. These two options we can choose, Ajnanatvam and Anatmatvam. And we can clear all the flaws which have been raised by the other schools of darshana. So Ajnanatvam, this can be taken as the nature of Jadatvam. So now, in this case, they have given this flaw, that if you take Ajnanatvam, you can see here, Vrityuparaktasyaiva jnanatvena kevalayaha vrittehe kevalasya chaitanyasya ajnanatvena vrittavasthyat. So they actually gave us one flaw, that if you choose this as the nature of Jadatvam, Ajnanatvam, then there will be a flaw of invariable concomitance or Vyabhichara. So, like Ajnanatvam, if we choose, then what happens? The consciousness, because of the combination of the modification of internal organ and consciousness, is called Jnanam. Only the modification is not Jnanam, and the consciousness alone is not Jnanam. Hence, the Ajnanatvam lies in the consciousness also, and there is no unreality. So, this is called the Vyabhichara, flaw of one of the flaws of Hetu, ground. So if you do not choose this, they said like that. So ajnanatvam cannot be chosen, they said. But what they what did they do mistake? What mistake they have done is they uh, didn't understand the actual meaning of cognition, and they said that you accept the combination of vritti and consciousness, chaitanyam, as jnanam, and they gave flaw in our tenet, in our ground. But actually, we do not accept the combination of vritti and consciousness as cognition. That is the point here in Advaita Vedanta. What we accept is arthopalakshita prakasha jnanam. Arthopalakshita prakasha. Prakasha, we know prakasha can be translated as consciousness only. So the consciousness indicated by upalakshit, indicated by the objects, consciousness indicated by the objects is called cognition in our in the circle of Advaita Vedanta. Not the cognition, not the consciousness which is qualified, which is modified, or which is attached by which is modified by vritti is called cognition. So what they said is, they said that the vritti attached with consciousness, the combination means the attachment is there. There is a relation between vritti and consciousness, and the combination of them is called jnanam. They said like this. But what we are saying is, no, the modified consciousness is not called jnanam or cognition, but the consciousness indicated by the artha. Artha means objects. It could be anything. So it could be vritti also. So the consciousness which is indicated, now the term indicated has to be defined, and I'm going to define in the next slide also. So the consciousness indicated by the objects is called cognition, not the modified consciousness. Now we can now see how, what does it mean. Indicated means, you can see here there are two houses. So in one of the house, the first house, there is a crow sitting on the rooftop of the house. And this suppose that there are multiple similar kind of houses, uh, and in one of the houses a crow is sitting. So if someone asks you which house is of Devadatta or which house is of someone, so you say that, see, where the crow is sitting, that house is of Devadatta. Now he identifies the house of Devadatta. There are similar multiple houses, but he identifies, looking at the crow, that the this house is of Devadatta. And the second, in the second picture, you can see that there is no crow, but this house is identified. This house is identified. Crow was sitting there. Now the crow flew away, but crow has become the indicator of the house of Devadatta. So the house of Devadatta is indicated by the crow. And to be indicated, uh, it is not necessary to always to always relate with the qualifying property. So crow is not required here. Likewise, the consciousness which is indicated by artha is called jnanam in our tenet, not the modified consciousness is called jnanam. So you cannot say that the modified jnanam is, since the modified consciousness is jnanam, the uh, consciousness is having the property of being not cognition, and hence the flaw of uh, ground, which is called vyabhichara, will be there in your tenet. So there is no in at the last I want to say that there is no flaw in accepting the jadatvam as ajnanatvam as per the tenets of Advaita Siddhanta. So I'm winding up here. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to express some of the thoughts from Advaita Vedanta in this sacred event of oneness. Thank you very much, Pranam.
Dhanyavadaha, Dr. Tulasi Kumar Joshi ji. That was a very tough topic, but you explained it, in a classic professor style, explaining the various aspects of Jadatvam. Thank you very much. We again, a topic like this needs several hours to truly understand the essence. But you've done a wonderful job explaining in that what Jadatvam is and what it is not, and in connecting it to the both jnanam and ajnanam. So thank you once again for your time today. The next session will happen, and the topic is actually insights from Nirvana Shatakam. Who am I? By Sri Veda Chaitanya. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So we'll see you all. Please tell your friends about this. This is a free conference. You can register on Advait Academy. Thank you very much. Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.